You definitely want to avoid the brain. The spinal column, you want to avoid any spinal fluid. Eyeballs, nervous tissue, you want to make sure it's well done. In fact, I don't think we should be eating the rich, actually. What is a prion disease and why should people not eat other humans? Things I already filled out my bingo card things. A prion is essentially a misfolded protein. And this is the stuff of nightmare fuel, you guys. Just content warning. If you were to eat infected meat that has a prion in it, it can lay dormant in your body for many years and then progresses rapidly. When a prion disease starts to show symptoms, it is already too late. It is fatal. What happens is these little misfolded proteins bump into other proteins and they tell the normal proteins to fold incorrectly, causing these crystalline-like structures that basically cause holes in the brain. Of course, this is very painful. There is no cure, and it's probably something I wouldn't wish upon my worst enemy, but maybe a baby-eating cabal of elites that have been making our lives living hell and causing genocides. Symptoms present very similarly to neurological wasting disorders, dementia, rabies is sort of similar, although rabies is caused by a virus. The creepiest thing about all of this is that a prion is not even alive. It's just a literal protein, meaning you also have a really hard time getting rid of it. And contamination is very easy to happen. Now, prions are not explicitly only to mad cow kind of things that you hear of. Late stage dementia actually has components of prion where you can have misfolding proteins with age. Fun fact, before I got a job at Stanford, I almost worked for a lab at UCSF that worked with prions. And their research was on working with ways to sterilize equipment and test whether or not prions would stay on surgical material after it got put into an autoclave. Yeah, that's nightmare fuel. Worked with some crazy stuff at Stanford. One of them was a BSL level 4 substance. And this is what prions are, essentially along the same lines as Ebola. So even somebody who is trying to be careful is probably gonna mess up. A prion disease is one of the ones that us biochemists, biologists shudder and crawl into our caves because it is that terrifying. Highly contagious. You can even put surgical tools that were used on somebody for, say, like a spinal or brain surgery into an autoclave, which is a pressurized heat chamber to sterilize equipment, and it will still have prions in it, making like that can potentially to be a vector for somebody to get it. This is not something that you want to fuck with. Even if you cook it, it's still in there. And this is something that happens when people do stuff that they're not supposed to do. As a goth baddie, I love bats, but I don't fuck with bats for this reason. I also don't fuck with Australia. I know about this and now you have to. Like I said, don't eat them. There's probably other horrible things that can happen from eating people besides just your normal prions that we know about that we just haven't discovered because this isn't a part of science that has really been researched because generally speaking, for thousands of years, this is considered something that is extremely taboo and evil in most societies, except for our leadership, apparently.